Imagine escaping Canada's bone-chilling winters, skyrocketing living costs, high taxes, and endless healthcare waits. For year-round sunshine, affordable beachfront living, and vibrant communities where your dollar goes 4 times further, all while reclaiming a sense of freedom and traditional values that can feel increasingly lost at home. As a Canadian eyeing a fresh start, Latin America beckons as the ultimate escape hatch, with booming expat scenes from Mexico's coasts to Chile's mountains. In 2025, amid rising dissatisfaction in the Great White North, thousands are packing up for warmer, cheaper horizons south of the border. Buckle up as we dive into why leaving Canada for Latin America makes so much sense now more than ever. And we're going to be covering destinations, costs, lifestyles, and real talk on the highs and hurdles of making this move. This could be your roadmap to a bolder, brighter life. Canada in 2025 faces mounting frustrations that are pushing citizens southward, harsh winters, -20 in Toronto, high heating bills, expensive rent, expensive property taxes, costs over $100 every single time you leave the house. The cost of living has soared, taxes are biting deep, the services are strained by record immigration levels, and it's just making more and more sense to leave the country, at least for a little while, so that you can save some money and enjoy vitamin D. And, urban safety concerns have been rising in Enter Latin America, a diverse region of 33 countries offering Canadians a compelling alternative with lower costs, warmer climates, and cultural vibrancy. From Mexico's proximity to Uruguay's stability, expats find havens blending adventure and affordability. The tweet inspiring this resonates. Outside Canada, you're going to get better weather. You're going to get often safer cities. Merida in Mexico is safer than Toronto, Canada. You're going to get superior private healthcare with faster access at a fraction of the cost, fewer druggies on the streets, less homeless people, stronger traditional family values, lower taxes, can even be 0% tax. You're going to have more efficient services as long as you have a little bit of cash, and you're going to have vastly enhanced personal freedoms where you don't have a government controlling everything you do and spying on you. You're really just allowed to be free with costs about 1/4 to 1/2 of Canada's. And you can live right in the beach. You can live up in the jungle, in the mountains. There's so many different forms of Latin America. There's just so many more options. Canada is quite limited in terms of our biosphere and our nature, and you can't really escape winter in Canada. You have to leave the country if you want to escape winter and be somewhere with year-round moderate weather. So why not do it where it's 0% tax? Weather is a top draw. Latin America's equatorial to subtropical climates means endless summer for many. Coastal Mexico or Costa Rica boasts 300 plus sunny days a year at 28 degrees versus Canada's 150 days of sunlight a year and frequent sub-zero spells. No more shoveling snow or seasonal depression. Expats report boosted mental health from vitamin D and more outdoor lifestyles. Makes sense, right? Safety varies, but shines in expats' favorites. You have El Salvador, which is now the safest country in the Americas, much safer than Canada. You have places like Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay that are all very safe. Even many areas of Mexico are safer than Canada. It's hard to believe, but there's much less petty crime in a lot of ways. And crime isn't allowed to exist the way that crime is sort of allowed to exist these days in Toronto and Calgary and Vancouver, right? So you're seeing a lot less opioid-fueled street crime. There's no fentanyl crisis in Latin America. Drug use is actually just very uncommon in Latin America. People pretty much just drink alcohol here. So healthcare also excels. In Panama or Mexico, procedures are lightning fast. You can get seen right away. You can get complicated procedures done with minimal weights. And for simple things like dental, you're going to pay 30 to 50 bucks out of pocket. And in Canada, you'd have to pay 200 bucks every time you go to the dentist, even with the copay. And really it's 800 bucks or 1,000 bucks or more. And then the complicated insurance covers most of it, but you still pay a bit. In Mexico or anywhere in Latin America, you don't have to deal with all that stuff. You just pay out of pocket 30 to 50 bucks for a cleaning. And even moving beyond dental, if you need an MRI, you need blood work, you need whatever, you just pay out of pocket 50 bucks for the MRI, 50 bucks for the blood work, whatever it is, and it's all extremely affordable. Now let's talk about taxes. Most of Central America is 0% tax on foreign income. Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, these are all zero tax on foreign income countries. Paraguay is very popular, especially among digital nomads. Uruguay has a 11-year tax holiday. Okay, so Latin America can be 0% tax on foreign income very easily, versus as a Canadian tax resident, you can be looking at upwards of 54% income tax if you factor in both federal and provincial income tax. The provincial really gets you a lot. And so if you can make the same amount of income remotely, if you can work online, if you're making money online, there's really no reason to give 50 or 54% of that money of your profits to Canada when you can just live less than 6 months a year in Canada, live in Panama, live somewhere with 0% tax on foreign income, become a tax resident there, and then you're paying 0% tax on foreign income. And by the way, if this sounds interesting and sort of like a new idea to you, paying 0% tax on foreign income, this is what we help people do at MyLatinLife, is we help Canadians better structure their business and their life so that they can lower their taxes. They can get a Plan B or Plan A residency, get multiple permanent residencies and passports around the world. So if that's of interest to you, there's a link in the description where you can book a call with us, and I guarantee we're going to be able to help you make progress on your internationalization plan. So link in the description to book a call with us. Moving on to overall quality, because that's what it's all about. You're going to have a higher quality of life in Latin America than you are in Canada in a lot of respects. You can live in a top of the line building with a pool on the roof and a gym a modern gym and a sauna. They have these types of modern buildings in Latin America, all over Latin America, and they're not that expensive at all. You could have a super modern gym or a super modern apartment, with the gym and the pool and all that stuff for as low as $300, $400, $500 in, say, Brazil or Bolivia or Paraguay, or closer to, $1,000 a month in maybe Playa del Carmen or some of the more popular areas. But you can have a really high standard of living. You can get massages every week. You can have a chef and a maid, and you can have all your cooking done for you. And you can play tennis and play golf, and whatever a high standard of living is for you, eating in the nicest restaurants in the city, this is all way more accessible in Latin America. In Latin America, I don't have a problem going out to dinner pretty much every night. Happy to do it. I enjoy the ambiance, and the food's amazing. But you go back to Canada, and I don't want to eat out every day. It's such a ripoff with the tax and the tip and just everything. So everything's a very different experience in Latin America, where I'd argue is just overall much higher quality where it counts. And what's funny is I think the gap is closing now more than ever. Canada's getting more dangerous. Latin America's getting safer. Latin America's infrastructure is getting better, while Canada's infrastructure is getting worse. Latin America's healthcare is getting better, while Canada's is getting worse. Latin America's food is getting better, while Canada's is getting worse. So we're living in a very interesting time where I really think the value is in Latin America. It's an amazing ecosystem. It's very easy to plug in. It's possible to obtain residency and start working towards citizenship in these countries as well. Pretty much every country in Latin America is open to immigration from Canadians. There's so many different visas you can get from retiree visas to passive income visas to digital nomad visas or investor visas or even citizenship by investment. So there's a lot of different pathways into Latin America, a lot of different countries, and countries, sort of gain and lose popularity over time. And that's something that we're documenting on this channel. But really, any country in Latin America, you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a high standard of living. You're going to have good coffee, and you're not going to regret having left Canada. Every Canadian in Latin America that I've met, they don't regret having left. They think it's the best thing they've ever done. Ask any Canadian who's gone to Mexico for winter or spent some time abroad in Latin America, and they'll tell you the exact same thing we're telling you in this video. So staying in Canada means enduring costs and winters. Latin America wins on proximity, on cost, on culture, on food, on low taxes, on freedom, on fun. So in 2025, leaving Canada for Latin America is a savvy move for affordability, weather, zero tax, and working towards internationalization, Plan B, residency, and passport, adventure, value. It's a natural move. So you might discover that paradise awaits you as well. Subscribe to the channel at MyLatinLife, and we'll see you in the next video.